honourable member. 29-2A is available. Don't see anyone rising for 29-2A, so let us move on to the honourable member for Edmonton Beverly Clareview.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's my pleasure to rise and speak to this bill, and I'm going to cover a variety of topics, and I'm probably going to run out of time because there's much more that I have to say than the short time that I'm allotted. But I want to just back up before I talk about Bill 10 and talk about the reason that Bill 10 came into existence. And, I think many Albertans see it for what it really is, and an attempt to torpedo Bill 202, which was a bill put forward that actually would ensure that children in schools who wanted to form GSAs could not be blocked. I've yet to hear a reasonable argument on how an extracurricular club infringes on a parent's right or infringes on parental rights or infringes on another student's right. I think the member from Edmonton Strathcona put it quite well when she said, but when a parent can stop a group of students from forming one of these clubs, then it's infringing on her right as a parent for her child to have access to this type of club. I'm going to go through a lot of the reasons of why we're such, or why the Alberta NDP are such strong advocates of this bill, and why it is and was so disheartening, the actions that were displayed here yesterday, from what seemed to be an unending stream of points of privilege to eat the clock, to the fact that when a vote was passed, it was unanimously passed in this House, Mr. Speaker, and yet members from the other side decided to force a standing vote, therefore eating another 10 minutes into the time and essentially shutting down any discussion that was going to happen on Bill 202, which honestly I can say, Mr. Speaker, that was the most undemocratic action I've ever seen in this House, not only as my time as a member, but as a person who has lived for 39 years in this province. So I want to bring up a variety of points here. Again, I'm not quite sure how a gay-straight alliance, because it's voluntary and it's student-driven, how that is somehow infringing on the rights of others, whether it's parental rights or student rights. My mind has gone through numerous clubs that students start up in a school, and if a school board tried to block an anti-racist club or a club supporting students in any other way, there would be an outrage, and that board's decision would be overturned very quickly. Yet, for some reason, when we talk about the rights of students regarding sexual orientation and gender identity, that somehow those rights are not equal to other rights. I think I don't understand. I think it's wrong, Mr. Speaker. The other part, and I am going to be all over the map, and I apologize for that. The fact that Bill 10 supposedly brings forward rights in incremental steps is quite absurd, Mr. Speaker. When you look at any rights that have been won in the history of this world, they have never been done incrementally. I think of examples of Rosa Parks or Dr. Martin Luther King, and they didn't win rights incrementally or partially, or some people could, or a half a person could, or an inch of the way. When women earned the right to vote in this country, it wasn't only a handful of women. It was women. It was all or nothing. And if we are wanting to get to the root of this bill, which is what I want to talk about. I mean, this isn't about parental rights. This isn't about religious views. We're talking about introducing a piece of legislation which will protect our students, which will protect our youth. We're talking about anti-bullying. And despite the fact that we can talk about different clubs that exist, there are none that are as effective at dealing with bullying and discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity than GSAs. And there are proof from around the world that GSAs work. And so what frustrates me, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that you're now setting up a system where if a GSA is blocked by a school board, the student can take this to the school board, which I find kind of ironic. What they come back and say, did you change your mind? No, okay. Now I've got to take you to court. So now we're a judicial review that we're telling our young people, if you want this, that you've got to jump through these hoops, you've got to expend money and time in order to try to take a board to court to prove that they're wrong and it's your inalienable right. Just seems so ridiculous, Mr. Speaker. It's unbelievable, and I think Albertans are flabbergasted at that part of Bill 10, which is ridiculous, quite honestly. So I want to talk a little bit, because I feel like I need to educate some of the members in this House as far as the reasons for GSAs and their value. So let me just tell you, starting off, in 2011, a report by the Canadian advocacy group called EGAL found 21% of LGBTQ students reported being physically harassed or assaulted because of their sexual orientation, and more than half reported having been verbally harassed. Almost half of gay, lesbian, bisexual students and 75% of transgendered students have experienced verbal harassment about their sexual orientation or gender expression at school. Studies show that LGBTQ teens experience greater levels of violence and more negative health outcomes than their heterosexual peers. 24% of harassed students report lower grades, 27% report higher absentee rates, 55% report greater depression, 35% are more likely to make plans to commit suicide. Mr. Speaker, those numbers to me are staggering. And when you have a tool or a club that decreases those numbers and provides for a safe and inclusive space, it seems like a no-brainer to me, Mr. Speaker, that we as provincial representatives and legislatures will do everything in our power to ensure students are safe in our schools. I mean, this is what it comes down to. It's not these other arguments that have been set up. I would argue that the Premier himself has pitted and created this dichotomy, this imaginary argument of one side versus another, when what we're talking about is an extracurricular school club that gives students the tools to feel safe in their schools, to feel supported. They work toward combating bullying and discrimination. And it really, I don't understand it, Mr. Speaker. And I've had students write letters and send emails and ask me to try to explain the rationale of Bill 10 and why this government torpedoed Bill 202, and I can't. And I don't think members on the other side either can provide a rational explanation of how an extracurricular club that's voluntary infringes on the rights of other students when they're nowhere near that club if they don't want to participate in it. I do want to point out a couple things which may come as a surprise, Mr. Speaker, but I was thrilled to learn that there are other jurisdictions in this great country of ours that have GSAs which exist in both public and Catholic schools. And that may come as a shock to some, but hey, believe me, it's true. There are Ontario and Manitoba both have legislation that mandates that all students in all public and separate Catholic school boards are allowed to form GSAs if they want to. And for some reason, the folks in Ontario, this doesn't contravene or contradict with their religious beliefs. You know, and there's a part of me that feels as, you know, that I want to mention in this assembly that I myself am a Catholic, Mr. Speaker, and I see no conflict between students starting GSAs in Catholic schools or rural schools or any school. This isn't even about singling out one or another. This is all schools. Should students have the desire to form a GSA, they should be allowed. I do want to commend some of the work that that many folks have done moving this forward, and you know, I will give kudos first and foremost to the member from Edmonton Centre for bringing this up, and even her predecessor. Last year we had a great debate on motion 503 from the member from Calgary Buffalo, and I do want to congratulate and thank the members of this House who were in favor of Bill 202 and opposed to this teethless bill that's just really meant to sidetrack the conversation and well, quite clearly just to take out any strength or ability that would have, or protection that would have been given to students. And also, and especially, I want to thank the students of this province who have the courage and have had the courage to step forward in spite of adversity and challenges and the potential of public shaming to voice, you know, their beliefs and to fight for something that is, I believe, so important when we talk about protecting the rights of our children, the rights of our students, and the fundamental human rights that all Canadians deserve to enjoy. I will mention, and I'm going to try to keep this fairly short. I know there are other speakers that want to get up, and due to the fact that the government, in their move to make this assembly more democratic, invoked closure. Well, there is a 2-hour limit on this current bill, is there not, Mr. Speaker? Okay, it's not been invoked yet. All right. Well, then I withdraw that last comment. Fair enough. I got my back up there a little preemptively. I'm sorry, government members. However, I won't be surprised if it crops up some point between now and third reading. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, I think the point of this is that the whole thrust behind the bill, and I know that there are some gestures in this bill as far as removing 11.1 that the government has made, which we were opposed to when it was first introduced. I appreciate that gesture, but really this comes down to what tools are we giving to students to ensure that they're protected in our schools? And Bill 10 I cannot support because it does not protect the very students that it claims to protect.
So you support the...
And therefore I support the hoist motion put forward that this bill needs to get read not for 6 months hence, and let's bring forward legislation that truly respects and protects the identities of all students in this province. I'll tell you one last thing, Mr. Speaker. I've never liked the word tolerant or tolerance. To me, that's putting up with something that you don't like tolerating a dirty car or tolerating you know, something that you don't appreciate. The point is, we don't tolerate one another. We don't hold our nose and put up with them. If we want to truly respect diversity and inclusiveness, then we need to celebrate our differences and who we are and not whitewash them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.